In today's lesson, we are learning about prepositions and prepositional phrases. I want you to think about if you have an object and where you might put that object. So, for example, because this is what I have closest to me is my cell phone. So I want you to think about where I'm going to be putting this object on top. Well, you can't really see it. It's on top of my head, or I can put it underneath my hand. I can put it behind my back. And you can't really see, but I can put it under my desk. Well, the prepositions that you hear are the locations. So, for example, on top or under, behind, those are all types of prepositions. So that will be our focus today. A preposition clarifies the relationship of an object to another word in a sentence. A preposition can tell you where an object is, but it can also reveal how, when, or what kind. Now I want to show you an example of a few riddles. As I read the riddle, think about what the answer is to the riddle. I live in Australia. I climb up trees. I have gray fur on my body. What am I? Well, if you think about it, you probably figured out it is a koala. But the point of reading this sentence is to recognize the prepositions. Now, again, when you're thinking about prepositions, think about almost like position words. So, for example, if we're looking at our sentence, I live in Australia. In would be your preposition, and the location of what they're actually referring to, making it the phrase, would be Australia. So I would underline in Australia. In is my preposition. I climb up trees. Up is your preposition. The prepositional phrase is up trees. I have gray fur on my body. That would be your prepositional phrase. On is your preposition. That's like your position word. Let's look at the next riddle. I work in a hive. I land on flowers. I can fly through the air. What am I? You probably guessed it. It is a bee. So in the first short sentence here, we have our preposition is in, prepositional phrase in a hive. So I will underline in a hive to recognize that in is the preposition, in a hive is the prepositional phrase. I land on flowers. On is your preposition, on flowers is your prepositional phrase. I can fly through the air. So through would be your preposition, through the air is the prepositional phrase. So a preposition is a word that shows how other words in a sentence are related. Words such as about, by, in, of, on, to, and under are prepositions. A prepositional phrase begins with a preposition and ends with a noun or a pronoun. The noun or pronoun is called the object of the preposition. Here's an example. The emperor penguins of Antarctica spent winter on the open ice. So you can see of is the preposition, the object's referring to is Antarctica. On is the preposition, ice is the object it's referring back to. So that's the noun. A preposition tells about the relationship between the object of the preposition and another word in the sentence. So look at these sentences. Emperor penguins swim under the ice when they hunt. I recently saw a movie about these amazing penguins. In the first sentence, the preposition under is your preposition, tells about the relationship between the ice and the verb swim. In the second sentence, the preposition is about, and it tells about the relationship between the penguins and the noun, which is the movie. A prepositional phrase sometimes tells how, when, where, or what kind. In the sentence you just read, the prepositional phrase under the ice tells where the penguins swim. The prepositional phrase about these amazing penguins tells what kind of movie it actually was. Here's a short video clip of more information about prepositional phrases.
When we think of adding detail to our writing, we usually think of adding adjectives and adverbs. For instance, The angry mob is more detailed than the mob. The mob shouted angrily is more detailed than the mob shouted. You can also add detail to sentences by using prepositional phrases. These phrases actually act like adjectives and adverbs in a sentence. Prepositional phrases start with prepositions such as at, by, for, and from, and end with what's called the object of the preposition. At 8 a.m., by sundown, in 1767, and from the ship are examples of prepositional phrases. Let's watch a story about the Boston Tea Party. Then we'll use the information we learned to practice using prepositional phrases. The Boston Tea Party was a protest that occurred on December 16, 1773. American patriots threw 342 chests of tea belonging to the British East India Company into Boston Harbor. The Americans were protesting the tax on the tea and what they considered to be a tea monopoly by the East India Company. Several years earlier, in 1767, the British Parliament passed the Townshend Acts, which required the payment of taxes on a variety of products imported by the British colonies. The colonists protested these acts and often did not pay the taxes. By 1770, all of the taxes were repealed, except for the duty on tea. To get around the remaining tea tax, Boston merchants received tea that was smuggled in by Dutch traders. Then, in 1773, the British Parliament passed a Tea Act to help the East India Company. The East India Company was allowed to have a monopoly on tea sold to the colonies, and they did not have to pay export taxes. In New York, Philadelphia, Charleston, and other cities, tea agents canceled orders and merchants refused deliveries. But the royal governor, Thomas Hutchinson, was determined to uphold the law in Boston. He insisted that 3 ships heading there be allowed to deposit their cargo and that the tea duty be honored. On the evening of December 16, 1773, a large crowd looked on as a group of about 60 men marched towards Griffin's Wharf, boarded the ships, and dumped the tea chests into the water. The men wore blankets and headdresses to disguise themselves as Mohawk Indians. They did not want their true identities to be known. Now that we have learned a bit about the Boston Tea Party, let's take a closer look at how prepositional phrases are used to add detail. Remember, a prepositional phrase contains a preposition, such as to, for, or on, and the object of the preposition. For example, the Boston Tea Party was a protest that occurred on December 16, 1773. On is the preposition. The date, December 16, 1773, is the object of the preposition. The whole phrase tells you when the event happened. To explain which goods were taxed in the colonies, let's add information to the sentence. The British Parliament taxed the colonies. The British Parliament taxed the colonies on tea and many other products. We use the preposition on to connect our original sentence with the added details. Let's try another sentence. American patriots protested. This sentence could be improved by explaining how they protested. American patriots protested by throwing over 300 chests of tea into Boston Harbor. We use the preposition by to add more information. Look again and you'll notice 2 more prepositional phrases in this sentence. Of tea acts like an adjective describing what was in the chests. The phrase, into Boston Harbor, adds information about where the chests were thrown.